Myth. There were no witnesses of explosions.
Is that true? Let's listen to Barry Jennings.
When we got to the 8th floor, I started walking to one side of the building. That side of the building was gone. The first explosion I heard when I was on the stairwell landing, when we made it down to the 6th floor. Then we made it back to the 8th floor. I heard some more explosions.
What sort of sound?
Like a boom. Like an explosion.
And more than one?
Yes. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. When we get outside, a police officer comes to me and says, you have to run. We have more information of bombs, so you have to run.
Now, he was the emergency coordinator for the New York Housing Authority, or New York Office of Emergency Management. So they said there were no witnesses. That's their excuse for not testing. Well, here we have one, and we're going to see more. This is an NYPD officer.
And the whole time you hear boom, 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 boom. So I think I know an explosion when I hear it. You know, I was real close to Building 7 when it fell down, and I don't know, but that didn't sound like just a building falling down to me while I was running away from it. There's a lot of eyewitness testimony down there hearing explosions. I didn't see any reason for that building to fall down the way it did, and a lot of guys should be saying the same thing.
Now, again, one of the points I want to make from the firefighter standpoint is when you're investigating this, a lot of people say, well, there were pressure tanks, there were diesel fuel tanks, there were boilers, there was all types of things in there that they say could have accounted for those explosions. You have to back up. We're doing an investigation. You don't have to prove it before you decide to investigate whether it happened or not. When you have this kind of witnesses, remember one of the three types of evidence we talked about was witness testimony. So we have testimonial evidence of explosives. So this is a very solid reason why to test. And again, here's Kevin McPadden again. And
what did he hear after the radio transmission from the Red Cross worker?
And then it was like another 2-3 seconds. You heard explosions, like boom. It's like a distinct sound. It's not like when in compression, like boom, 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 like floors that were dropping and collapsing. This was boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something. That, to me, I knew that was an explosion. There was no doubt in my mind.
And now this goes beyond witness testimony. They said there were no recordings.
Yeah, here's one of the guys. He can tell you I'm okay, all right? Here, hold on. You want to call your mother or something?
Now, again, they say there's no explosions. You be the judge.
Myth. The firefighters did not report explosions.
Now, the 9/11 Commission had some of the firefighters come in, and the firefighters said they told them about the explosions. However, none of that made it into the 9/11 Commission report. So there's absolutely no witness reports of any explosions. So there's more than 118 of them who heard them. And originally they weren't going to document this, but the City Fire Commissioner Tom von Essen, he wanted to preserve these accounts. And in the fire service, when we go to fires, there's a lot of times where there's just chaos, and we see one small part of that picture, and afterwards we'll have what's called a post-fire, and we'll talk about it, and we'll see videos and pictures and stuff, and like, oh yeah, that's what that noise was, that's what this was. So we come to a collective memory, and we work together at the fire, but we come up with a memory that is almost like one, because we're told all these different things, and we realize that we didn't see it, so we put it together that way. Well, this commissioner knew that, and he didn't want to collect, as he quoted, to preserve the accounts before they became reshaped by a collective memory. So they didn't release these. It happened in 2001. They were collected from October to January, and it wasn't until the New York Times filed a Freedom of Information Act to get these, and so they finally got them published. So we didn't have them until August of 2005, so we just have come across these. And so I'd like to introduce two of my good friends. Lila Selk is a retired Palo Alto firefighter, and and Jason Abney is a firefighter I came in with to Seattle. And Jason helped me start Firefighters for 911Truth, and Lila has signed on since, and she has been a huge help. Both of them have contributed their time, their money. They both volunteered to come here. And I just want to acknowledge them for what they've done. And what they're going to be doing tonight is just reading just a few of the first responder reports from the 9/11, or from the oral histories, and also from Women at Ground Zero.
Lila Selk and Jason Abney. Sorry.
A couple minutes later, it sounded like bombs going off. That's when the explosions happened. I could hear it coming, and I knew something was going to happen. I braced myself. It started to get dark. Then all of a sudden, there was this massive explosion. We were on the mezzanine of Building 1, which is all encased in glass. The windows blew in, everything went black, and we all got thrown. I had burn marks, not like you'd have from a fire, but my face was all red. My chest was red. And for 3 or 4 days, there was stuff coming out of my body like you wouldn't believe. It was like shrapnel. It's still coming out. I'll look over and have this little pinpoint under my skin, and it will be bleeding. I was coughing up black stuff, and there was black stuff coming out of my ears and my nose. That was Sue Keene, Port Authority police officer.
Richard Banasiski, FDNY. We were there, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then I just remember there was just an explosion. It seemed like on television they blow up these buildings. It seemed like it was going all the way around like a belt, all these explosions.
There were a lot of explosions through the elevator shafts, and people were blown right out of their clothes. I found their clothes, and they were just shredded. I found their sneakers. There were shoes everywhere. I walked through these piles, through all this gray dirt, and it's like I'm walking through them, the people. I know it's all that's left of them. That was Detective Jennifer Abramowitz, NYPD.
Edward Kachia, FDNY. As my officer and I were looking at the South Tower, it just gave. It actually gave at a lower floor, not the floor where the plane hit, because we originally had thought there was like an internal detonation of explosives because it went in succession. Boom, 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 boom. And then the tower came down.
With that explosion, more people came running out of the building. 2 cops were yelling at me, "Get up, run! Get up, run!" I wasn't even thinking I was hurt. I wasn't feeling anything. I was able to get up and run, and got into a little doorway with them. One of them was Nancy Ramos, a rookie cop with the Manhattan Traffic Task Force. We stayed there until the explosions stopped, until it was almost silent again. Then we all ran back and continued evacuating people from the building. It seemed like we were there for hours. My adrenaline was just going and going. About 20 minutes later, we heard a huge plane coming in. We couldn't see anything because we were under the overhang, but we heard this plane and the echo of it. Then it hit the building. That was Carol Pochner, NYPD.
Joseph Mayola, FDNY. As we were looking up at the building, what I saw was it looked like the building was blowing out on all 4 sides. We actually heard the pops. You heard the pops of the building.
And now here are the radio transmissions. So these are the rest of the evidence.
Then in the radio transmissions from September 11th, firefighters reported numerous additional explosions going off within the buildings.
I got an eyewitness who said there was an explosion on floor 7-8. 7-8. We just had another explosion. Warren Street because of the secondary explosion. We've got numerous people covered with dust from the secondary explosion. And we got another explosion on Tower, 1013 down. 2 has had a major explosion and what appears to be a complete collapse surrounding the entire area. Who's involved in the secondary explosion at Topete?
Now, several of those quotes were not during the building collapse. They were talking about they were inside the building reporting those.